Suh. I'm 35 years old, and I have been living in Pagosa Springs now for the past 3 years with my husband and 2 small kids. My daughter is 5 and my son is 3. We live out on a couple of acres on a hobby farm. I have bees and chickens and ducks and a couple of dogs, and we enjoy ourselves sledding down our very long driveway and making snowmen and gardening and doing all of that stuff as a family. I homeschool my kids, and so this job is going to be a little interesting for me. But Wayne is actually the reason why I finally decided to run. So Bethany and a few other people have been pushing me here in town for about the past year or so, because I did write a book. My background is in constitutional law. So I wrote a short pamphlet called How Medical Tyranny Murdered the United States. And it is a historical case analysis on how the Constitution has been usurped to put in all of these emergency measures. So I have been encouraged to run for office. Thank you. But it was Wayne who finally got me going. I met him in November, and the first time I met him, he persuaded me, actually. So he told me if I wanted my children to have freedom, then I needed to get involved. So instead of hiding out in the woods like I had planned to, and waiting for the end to come, I'm up here today to talk to you. So, yeah, that's basically my background. I don't know if any of you have been to my website. I'm sure some of you have. So you know that my motto for my campaign is that it is time to act. And by that, it's an acronym. It means that I will be held accountable while I am in office. I will conduct myself ethically. I will encourage community engagement, just like we are having tonight and at any other time during this campaign and while I am in office. I am going to be as transparent as possible in this position. So I know that I am a minority on this board and what they are looking for in regards to people that are working with them. So, but I am here because my senior thesis, my dual degree is in political science and religious studies with an emphasis in pre-law. So my senior thesis was on corporatism, or grouped control over the individual. And as I've seen throughout the entirety of politics in the history of America, really, is that groups of people are controlling politics and they are not representing the individual person. So that is what I am here for. To be in office is to represent you. I am not here to represent a corporation. I am not here to represent a party platform. I am here for you. So I need you to engage with me so that I know how you feel about all of the issues here in town, okay? So that is my goal, and I'm going to work diligently towards that. I work in service of God. So I truly believe that we are on the wrong path and that this is God's mission to get us together, to get us healed, and to work for the community together. So, thank you.
So where what are you running for? Is it TC?
Yes, I'm running for the Board of County Commissioners for District 3.
Okay. Now, on the districts, do only the people in your district get to vote for you?
Yes, but I am running a pretty quiet campaign, walk quietly with a big stick. I don't really plan on doing a whole bunch of campaigning t-shirts, stickers, bumper stickers. You're not going to see that from me. I really would like this to remain word of mouth so that people can actually engage and talk to one another. I really feel like that's how we're going to heal.
How many people are in that District 3?
There's actually not that many. I only need about 75 signatures to get on the ballot. So because I'm unaffiliated and not running as a Republican or Democrat, I have a weighted time for my petition. So I actually can't petition right now. I can't petition in March because I'm not third party either. So I have to wait until about mid-May to be able to do that. So I will be petitioning in May. If anybody wants to help me, let me know. I would be really thankful for that. Yeah, Bethany.
Those 75 signatures have to be in District 3.
It does have to be in District
We're in
3.
District 3, we'll.
All right, thank you so much.
But anybody in the county can vote.
Whichever area.
Yeah, it's basically the east side of town, all the way down 84. So I live on the Lower Blanco, and so yeah, luckily my neighbors like me, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue.
But then once you're on the ballot, anybody in the county can vote.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's what, okay.
Yeah, because it's gonna be on the county ballot.
Okay. So we have to get her on the ballot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the elections are in November.
Yeah, okay.
And what's the deadline to get on the ballot?
I have like 173 days or so after I start my petitioning to get on the ballot.
In May?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's sometime in August, if I remember correctly, that I'm going to have the petitions. I'm going to be working towards it. I'm also a trustee on the board at Chimney Rock Interpretive Association. So I will be volunteering there pretty extensively, spending a lot of time at the monument working in our educational programs.
You sound much like the person we've been praying for.
That's humbling. Please don't make me cry. My mascara will not. So it's actually very humbling because I truly never planned to run for office. So it is just really unfortunate that my children are living in this time and I have to watch the effect that this has had on them. And it's, it's really truly a selfless task to make sure that they're the ones being represented, they're the ones that are going to have to deal with the consequences of our actions right now. Yes?
Yeah, Rachel, I grew up in Wisconsin, and Carroll College, where you graduated
Yes, sir.
from, is in Wisconsin. But I don't know very much about that school. Could you just share with us where you grew up, a little bit, your growing up years, and how you ended up at Carroll College? And I'm interested specifically if Carroll College is a religious school, while you got one of your degrees was in religious studies, and how that also combined with your political science.
Sure. I come from a mixed religion household. So my mom actually, her whole family is Jewish. I actually am Jewish, Russian, Lithuanian on my mom's side. She became a born-again Christian when she was 19 years old. So both her and my dad raised me as Lutheran, and I've been baptized, and I go to church regularly. I volunteer for Pagosa Bible Church. I go there pretty much every Sunday, and I help them with their media and everything for the streaming for online services. So I've always been particularly religious. Carroll College is actually a religious institution. It is a private Presbyterian college. It is the oldest institute in Wisconsin, and so they were founded in like 1863 as the first university out there, and it's only got about 1,300 students at any point in time. I graduated high school in DeKalb, Illinois, so I am from the suburbs of Chicago, very much like Bethany and Sarah. So I got a full ride scholarship. I was a 2-time state competitor on my debate team in high school, and I was also several editors' positions for journalistic stuff in high school. So I got quite a bit of scholarships, and Carroll College gave me almost a free ride. Sorry, Northwestern, because I had to pay for college by myself. So that's how I ended up going there. I ended up becoming their first legal assistant intern for the risk management and legal representation of the school. I was in charge of special programs, so specifically I was tasked with creating their first pre-law society and their first ever debate team, which did place first nationally in its inception year. So I did leave quite a bit of a legacy there. From there, I graduated college and as a young girl went and traveled the country. So I have lived in about 7 different states and here and there. My dad and my mom divorced when I was particularly young, and he moved down to my family farm down in Mississippi. So I spent a lot of time with my dad at my grandfather's farm, raising chickens, ducks, and cows, and going, fishing at the pond and swimming at the lake. So this is basically how I spent my time, and I made my husband promise that if I had his children, that he would let me raise them in that type of environment. So it took us 5 years of negotiating and many trips and camping trips all over Colorado to finally figure out that Pagosa was where we wanted to be. So actually Chimney Rock is probably one of the biggest reasons that I decided to come down here. His biggest reason is the hospital available for the kids when they go walking off the side of the mountain. All right. I have owned a business for 7 years, but I actually shut it down in September due to pretty much pure exhaustion. I had been an online bakery and confectionery, 5-star rated, for 5 years before COVID happened. So my reputation was pretty extensive, and I went from working a regular 40-hour job to working about 100 hours a week with 2 kids. And so I got pretty exhausted, and I had planned to do something else besides this, but then I ran into Wayne. So yeah, this is what I'm doing right now. And I have a couple other projects that I'm working on, but they're proprietary, but they're basically online educational services.
Right.
What does your husband do?
My husband is a commercial insurance broker, so he's very lucky he got to petition when COVID happened to be able to work from home. So he actually, he's a producer, he's a broker, and he can work from anywhere at any time. So he enjoys our nice big windows at our cabin that he can look out and, see everything out there and the gobs of snow that we have out there. We got almost, 4 feet out there already, so it's pretty ridiculous. And he just enjoys himself doing that. He's a quiet guy. We're both a bit of a recluse, so that might be why some of you have never met me before. So I just kind of keep to myself. I'm a little bit quiet, but always feel free to reach out to me. As a matter of fact, on my website, rachelsonshinesuh.com, there is a spot specifically for Archuleta matters and what matters to you. So even if you don't feel comfortable talking to me in public or talking in front of other people about a concern that you have, please feel free to message me so that I can at least get your perspective, on the list so that I can decide what's best for the county. Yeah, Roger.
If there's anything that you'd like to add that would separate you as far as your credentials between you and the other 2 candidates for county commissioners, what do you think those would be?
So I have been a very active freedom, speech, and privacy activist for the past 10 years. So I am running unaffiliated, and I want you all to know my own personal perspective for politics is that I am, in fact, an anarchist. So I know that that does scare people, but the way that I see things is we have all got quite a bit of division between us right now. And I think that that division comes from personal interest in politics. So everybody who's running for office seems to have some type of personal gain that they're looking for, and they're not focusing on why they're even in office in the first place, which is a contractual agreement between you and I that we are going to hire them, and they are under a restricted contract to act a certain way. So that is what I'm promising to do. We need to get back to that before we can actually convince people that the contract is illusory and void and actually allows for these people to get into office and do what they want to do. So that is my true feelings about things, and I just want you all to be aware that that's who I am. But I do believe that the Constitution is where we need to start in order for us to start healing as a community. We just need to put that first, put our personal interests aside. Yeah, Jimmy.
I don't have a question, but a comment. I believe you're probably the only one running that's actually read the Bill of Rights.
Yeah.
I don't just read the Bill of Rights. I have a tiny little book for it, and anytime my daughter picks it up, I read it to her too. So it's really important that we do that. I have a particular interest in contract law and constitutional law. If you came to my house, you would see that my bookshelves are filled with constitutional law books. So that is actually how I got my legal assistance internship. Is I broke my hand the day of finals. I had a constitutional law final at 6 p.m. I couldn't write, and so I had to take it orally through a tape recorder, And I did, and I did 3 arguments through a tape recorder, and pretty much within 2 days, my teacher had petitioned for me to be her legal assistant. So I do love law. It's kind of weird and an interesting hobby of mine. I didn't go to law school because Sonia Sotomayor was nominated and approved to the bench, and it crushed my dreams. So that happened in 2009, and I realized that, wow, we are so corrupt. I don't think I'd ever have a chance of being able to be approved to the Supreme Court to give people as much freedom as I possibly could. So, yeah.
I kind of agree with Jimmy. I know both of the other candidates kind of well, and and have worked with them. And you really need to someone needs to advertise or get all the words you said and everything you said, because you definitely are the most intelligent of the 3.
Thank you.
I
mean, I don't know if I'm the most intelligent, but I'm definitely the most well-versed in individual rights, natural rights, and constitutional law. That is for certain. I truly have loads of historical case law at the top of my head that I can just regurgitate to you, even on my deathbed.
But I guess what I'm saying is the town needs to hear that, because, they're very much into, well, she's my lunchmate, or he, they're just into because he's who he is. So.
They know the name.
Yeah, Wayne.
Right.
How do you feel the difference between statutory law and God's common law?
Yeah, so statutory law is man's law, and man's law is beneath God's law. So in my opinion, that is not something that's, if they decide to violate God's law, I'm going to vote no. I just want you to know I'm going to vote no on a whole slew of things. Basically, if it's like, this falls outside of the Constitution, the answer is no. So I've also done some research on statutory laws, such as whether the county should actually exist as a power. And legally, no, they shouldn't. So we do have a distribution of powers article in our state constitution. It's Article 3. It states that we have to have delegation of powers expressly written into the Constitution, and the county authorities are not. They are actually specifically by General Assembly statute, okay? So none of them are actually valid, and I really don't know what to do about that. It's a little conflicting being a commissioner and knowing that I shouldn't actually exist. So I'm going to work in a way that I actually shouldn't exist, so. Yeah.
Rachel, other than that issue, what would you say, having lived here now for 3 years, if you could pick 3 items that concern you most in this county, what would they be? And then secondly, I have very strong feelings that we need our own health board. And so if you could just share with us what your impression is of our current health board and what changes you feel need to be made there.
Yeah, so I'm extremely jaded about the healthcare system in this country. I do have a medical history and I do have a medical condition. It is called renal divism, and I actually have a small apricot seed-sized kidney inside of a regular kidney on my left side. This is a 1 in 16 billion anomaly, which means I went 10 years of my adult life going through some horrific kidney failure before I was diagnosed by the Mayo Clinic in 2015. So I've actually been through, before COVID, a lot of malpractice and malfeasance by doctors. I was poisoned by my general physician right before I was sent off as a referral to the Mayo Clinic by force by the pain management doctor that she was trying to shove me off on, who refused and told me what was actually happening. So, in my opinion, the health board has violated rights in innumerable ways, from prior restraint and violating people's right to speak out, to preventing information about medical, treatments. I mean, it's unbelievable. But beyond that, they have a severe conflict of interest in being able to receive funds for an emergency that they can just continue until necessary. This is not acceptable behavior. We are working way outside of the Constitution here in regards to legal representation. As you guys probably know, there is nothing in the Constitution about emergency powers. Okay, so the Supreme Court ruling on that, they actually use something called judicial review. And this is a power that they granted to themselves in 1803 in a ruling Marbury v. Madison. Okay, so the Supreme Court has actually been usurping the Constitution, and it is what it is, I'm just telling the truth. They have been usurping the Constitution since 1803, and they have been expanding exponentially federal, state, and local powers. Okay, these fall way outside of the Constitution. Again, they probably shouldn't exist. So it is within my best interest and your best interest that we move off. We get our own county health system. Now, I have heard this is a two-pronged situation, and while we don't agree with their science, and it would be good for us to move away from that, they have amazing grant writers, and they're getting funding that is ridiculous. And so I heard that, and a light bulb went off. Okay, in order for us to be able to finance a new health department here, we need amazing grant writers. So that's where I'm going, that's where my stance is, that's what I'd like to see accomplished. So I don't want to see us continue to go in this loop of, oh, where's the contract? I can't find the contract, but I don't know what's in the contract. Can they do that in the contract? I've had enough. We can just do this. We can solve our own problems. A lot of people, know the saying, if you want something done, you do it yourself. So that's really one of my biggest issues is the health department. The second issue that I have is law enforcement. So I know a lot of people here support Archuleta County Sheriff's Office, and that's great. I'm sure that there have been positive interactions with them. However, as a younger person here in the county, I can tell you firsthand, I have seen many, many people targeted by Archuleta County and using color of law to violate people's rights to clean up the county. So I don't find this appropriate, and so I will be vying for de-escalation training, and I will be retraining people in how you are violating people's rights under color of law. The third one is personal for me. I've been told not to stick my fingers in all the pots, but I do have children, and education. Education is really big for me. I really don't like them having such control over children. They're our future. I can't imagine having to be muzzled as a child. It's literally heartbreaking to watch. I had to watch my children not be able to play for 5 months at the parks because they were closed. We were up in Denver still when COVID happened, and I told my husband, I've had enough, and I'm getting away from the city. Like, this is crazy. People were threatening to call Child Protective Services for bringing my daughter to the grocery store. People were getting arrested for bringing their daughters to the park. So that needs to stop. My children, your grandchildren, your children, they all deserve a life of freedom, and we're not doing that in our education system either.
I've always been concerned about the two separate governments in this area, the town of Pagosa, which I can't vote for anything, and the county. Is there a way to bring that together so we're an incorporated county? Or is that the right way to go? There's way too many meetings, there's way too much confusion, and I don't like it.
I don't know if legislatively there's anything that we can do. Pagosa is it's a home rule charter.
Right.
And so the only thing we can do, and I heard that this tried to happen in 2010, is that we could change the home rule charter, but then we need 9 commissioners to be able to be part of that. So I hear it's kind of hard just to get 3 people for commissioners, so 9 people was an impossible task back in 2010. Hopefully that could be a different perspective, but I do have a solution for bringing us together, and I think it's great because Wayne is running for sheriff, and I am running for commissioner, and Sarah's running for town mayor. We are all on the same platform. We all want to work together. We are all united in the same goal. which is representing you guys and getting us back on solid legal ground. So that's how we solve that solution at least. And I know from Sarah, I met her yesterday, she's feisty. She said, this committee's gone, that committee's gone, this committee is gone, that committee is gone. So you can be sure that Sarah's gonna clean up town. As far as committees go for the county, I do see some use in some of the committees. Sometimes it's necessary to break it down from a board as somebody who is a trustee on the board. I do understand that sometimes having 10 voices all at once can be a little hard to move forward. So having smaller committees sometimes is within our best interest so that we can get some more vocalization. All right, well, you guys, thank you so much for your time. Yes?
Do you have any of your pamphlets available?
I don't have any pamphlets available. I'm still getting them printed. It's taking a little longer than I expected, but that's gonna happen and they will be here within the next couple of weeks. I will bring them to the next meeting or two. Yeah.
Rachel, this is kind of a dumb question, but what is your viewpoint worldwide on what is happening with the pandemic here? Will we ever not get back to normal, but will things ever come around to where this insanity will stop?
I really think that the only way that we're going to be able to move forward and past this is if we do what Bethany has done here over the last 2.5 years, which is to communicate and mobilize, educate, and make sure that we are telling other people the truth about what is happening. We don't need to use, superfluous words. We don't need to say, this is fake, this is a bioweapon or anything like that. Really, we just need to focus on the legality of it. It's not legal. And when people actually hear the reasoning, this is not legal because of this, this, and this, whether they accept it or they, I don't want to see that, and they bury their heads in the sand, people are becoming aware. I do have a nonprofit organization that is just a little hobby of mine. It's called Literacy to Liberty. Okay, and I have done a lot of public speaking on why this is unconstitutional. In regards to worldwide, this was planned. This was planned, and we were all caught off guard, and we are all here sitting, planning our tactics, for trying to fight all of this. But man, they've got a plan, and they've been doing it for, I don't know, a really long time. If you were to ask my historical opinion, they've been doing it for about 220 years. So this was all planned. Even the ability to usurp the Constitution, specifically to use emergency powers to take away and violate all of our rights, was done all the way back in 1803. Okay, and then Jacobson v. Massachusetts was the Supreme Court ruling that gave the state's police powers to force vaccinate you. That was in 1905. Okay, so this was a long time ago. This was planned, and I think that what they're doing now is actually data collection. Okay, so they're figuring out who's on what side, who's gonna stay quiet and who's not. Okay, but this is orchestrated worldwide, and I don't really have a solution for that. Besides taking us all back to the 1840s so that they can take away the technology that's really controlling us here right now. I feel like technology is an issue on that, but that's another story.
I feel that Klaus Schwab, his group, so many of the people who jumped on board to create a pandemic in one day.
Yeah, one day.
They have graduated from his youth training groups.
Yeah, so I'm a bit of a researcher, and that also means that I fall sometimes into conspiracies. My personal experiences in life have made me come to the belief that there is some sort of shadow government that is running everything. They call themselves the Committee of 300 or the Olympians or the Illuminati or whatever you want to call them. And they run the joint. They run everything. What?
The Council of Rome.
Yes, the Council of Rome. You got it. Yeah, absolutely. These secret societies. I do believe that they are at least the ones who are running what we see here. I don't know about what we don't necessarily perceive. So. I think, did you have another question? Yeah.
Yeah, Rachel, not so much a question, just a comment. We can see that you're very intelligent, you have a clear idea of what direction you want your campaign to go. Just know there are many people here that feel exactly the same way you do. You have our support as time passes here, whether it's directly from you or through Bethany or whatever. We're here to help in any way we can. So look to us as a strong field of support for you.
No, I really appreciate that. As somebody who's, felt this way for a really long time, so, Mom, growing up, Rachel, you can be whatever you want when you grow up. The first thing I said was, I want to be Amish. And she said, Rachel, I don't think it works that way, but my off-grid property proves her wrong. And then I read the autobiography of the sitting Supreme Court justices in 1994, and I was like, wow, that's what I want to do. And I went up to my mom and I said, Mom, I want to be a Supreme Court justice, and I want to give freedom to as many people as possible. She said, go for it, kid, she didn't explain everything to me. It took me a little while for it to click.
Now, did you say freedom or freedom?
Freedom.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you just explain to me what you said earlier about an anarchist?
Yes.
I know what I think, but I don't think that's what
That's
you're
right.
explaining.
Yeah, you know what you've heard
Yeah.
about us, right? So when you think about anarchy, you think about the activist anarchists from the 1890s to the 1920s. You may have even heard of them. My great-great-uncle, his name was Alexander Berkman, and he was Emma Goldman's boy toy for all intents and purposes. She is credited with activist anarchy in the 1920s, i.e. bombings. My great-great-uncle was actually trying to assassinate a CEO of a company when he was jailed for 11 years. So that is what people think of when they think of anarchy, okay? We do have a large anarchist system here in this country. Unbeknownst to most people, I have 30,000 followers on Facebook, for example. So anarchy, to most of us, is actually a political theory called voluntarism, okay? And it is the belief that all of our interactions should be voluntary. We should not have anybody telling us, how many septic tanks we need on our property, or that we're not allowed to have a composting toilet, or that our drywall needs to be this thick, or, a whole slew of other things. We also don't believe that we should have business permits. I should be able to sell you a dozen eggs without having the county department come in and tell me that I'm not allowed to do that, and I'm charged $15,000 in fees, or being jailed for selling avocados, or any such nonsense like that. I believe we have the right to freely associate at any given time, and they have absolutely no authority to stop us from communicating with one another. So that is basically my viewpoint. I do believe that these people need to be removed from office. I fantasize often about the very antiquated iceberg method. Okay, we just put them all standing room only on a melting iceberg. Out to the Pacific you go, and we'll just record it as, China blows them up for breaking their contract with them. So. Okay, so that's basically my view. I don't believe that the government should exist. And the reason why is because I'm a legal head. Okay, so in my research, I've realized that the government put us all under an illusory contract. And I made a meme about it once, and I know that this is terrible because a lot of people really respect the founding fathers, but they did this. So they basically came in and said, wow, these are a bunch of stupid farmers. Let's give them a contract that they don't understand, okay? We'll get it put into place. And in about 10 years, we'll have this group rule that they can actually usurp it. And we'll just continue doing that for the next several hundred years. And they've stolen all of our money. They've stolen all of our rights. And they've done this under the constitutional contract. They are under a contract. But here's the thing. The contract is between you and I, right? And it creates a third party, it creates the government, all right? But the government is not a signatory of that contract, and they are not obligated to follow it by law, by contract law, they are not obligated to follow it. So that is how they're able to get away with everything, because you can imagine, if you have a contract with AT&T or T-Mobile for your cell phone, right? And I'm walking along and you say, Rachel, you're not allowed to do that according to my contract with T-Mobile. And I'm just going to laugh at you and say, I didn't sign that contract, I don't have anything to do with that. You know, and by law, that's how it works. So by law, there is no representative from the government signing the Constitution, and they are not obligated to follow it. They have an oath, and an oath is not legally binding. Okay? Yeah, it's very sad. You can imagine, you know, I grew up and I worked towards being a Supreme Court justice, and then coming to find out it's all a joke, you know? It's all made up and the points don't matter, you know? It's whose line is it anyway? That's what's happening here. So I spent a lot of my 20s very angry and lashing out about the fact that I'm basically a slave and I don't really have any choice in the matter, even though I'm told on a constant basis that I have this amazing social contract that affords me all of these freedoms that nobody else has ever experienced before. And a lot of people my age have realized that it's nonsense, it's propaganda, it's not real. And we've been taught this false history while they have their plan and they're implementing it, you know? So that's why I'm an anarchist. That's why I don't want anybody to be representing us. I think our home rule charter should be all the powers to the individuals. We all work together, we figure it out.
Would you say your website again?
Yeah, it's Rachel, R-A-C-H-E-L, Sunshine, it's my middle name, my mom's a Christian hippie biker, and Suh, S-U-H, my last name, yes, .com. So I married a Korean guy, he's from Hollywood, he's from LA, he's a great guy, he's really phenomenal. So a great dad to my 2 kids, and you know, quite an off-grid prepper, so I like that a lot about him. Yeah.
I have the same feeling about anarchy when it comes to the Department of Professional Regulation, because once you start licensing individuals, you do not get better quality of care. You license the poor quality to be able to practice. So I think that's...
So I'm a nerd. Okay, I'm a nerd. And I often, when special occasions arise, like my birthday or Christmas, I ask for dictionaries, because I'm that much of a nerd. And we have Black's Law Dictionary in this country that represents legal communication. It is not Webster's. You can't go to Webster's and get a legal definition. You have to go to Black's Law Dictionary. I have several of those versions available, dating all the way back to the first one in 1897. And what I can tell you is that the word regulate went from 2 definitions to 13. And so one of the ways that they have legally been able to usurp our rights is by continuing to tack on new definitions of legal words. You may have recognized this in modern times with vaccination, being vaccinated, being fully vaccinated, what a vaccine is, okay? You're like, wow, how do they keep changing all of this constantly? It has a huge, huge legal impact on our rights when they redefine words. And now the definition of an illusory contract is when you go into a contract and one of the parties decides to change the definitions after you have signed it, that means that the contract is illusory and void, okay? So that's what they've been doing. That's all that they've been doing repeatedly. How much Black's Law go from like this to this? I mean, you carry it around, your back's gonna go out, so. Yeah.
Man, I don't know. What do you think?
So I think that the term anarchy is scary to a lot of people.
It is.
And I can't refute what you're saying, that the whole Constitution was, I don't know how to say it, fraud from the beginning.
It's fraud, yeah.
But here's my point, and I would like your opinion. I think the Bill of Rights is a great place to start. state and federal. Because it basically says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? If these government officials want to get into court and admit that the Constitution is null and void, let's make them do it. Until then, let's stand on our Bill of Rights. And let's do it locally first and then spread it around. What do you think about it?
Hey, that's where I'm at. You know, I sat here spinning my wheels for like a decade here, just keeping to myself, because I don't see it as being a realistic option that we can even go through the courts. The courts are the ones that have self-granted themselves all of these ridiculous powers, and you know that firsthand, man. You know, so I'm saying, like, I don't know about the courts. I think that it's going to happen through us, and it's going to happen through, I don't know, constitutional conventions. That's really all that's the only solution that I've had. I actually have a 28th Amendment written to void the Constitution, and it gives us back all of the real property that the government has taken. So all of the, like, over 100 million acres, you know, all of the military equipment, the seed banks, the housing, everything would go back and be distributed to the states or the people respectively. And then I actually believe and theorize that we would go through a period of rapid enlightenment, because we would realize that working together is the best solution and the best way for everybody to live. We would learn to thrive together, and then we would be able to have endless possibilities as humanity. Of course, I'm a utopian a bit, so just a bit. Utopian anarchist, misanthropic humanist. I've been called a lot of things.
I like the word volunteerism.
Yeah, volunteerism is definitely the best way to describe it for people, so that's how I can consider it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah.
Thanks,